And half the way that weight loss surgery is about changing your behaviors is because you have no other choice. It's still not necessarily a conscious decision as much as it is a result of the surgery you had. And then over time, many of us learn that you can make those old choices again anyway, right? So if you don't make a conscious decision to change behaviors and to change your life, you can be at your goal weight and 3 years after surgery still hate everything about yourself. And I do believe that the scale is an important measure of feedback on the way that we're executing behaviors and executing our life. But it should, my belief system is that it should not be the measure of your success. And so how many people in here had surgery and never hit the number they thought they were gonna hit or wanted to hit? Right? And that you was like your number one number. And how many of you that did that believe then that you're like, have that belief system that you're not successful, right? That it like didn't work, that I didn't do what I was doing. Okay, so I have bad news. Oh wait, hold on. You know what? I was thinking earlier today about a YouTube video that I used to watch all the time. I don't know how many of you remember Miss Ting Ting. Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my gosh, she was one of my favorites. And she said something in a video that really stuck with me one time. She said that someone in her life was like, you've changed. And already I was thinking, I haven't changed. And she said, you're damn right I changed. I didn't do this to be the same. Mm-hmm. Right? I think about that all the time, how much we try and convince people that we're really the same person, but we're smaller. But if we're really the same person, guess where we're gonna end up 6 or 8 years from now, right? So you need to embrace the change and then make something happen with it. Okay, go ahead. Oh, this is my Kirkism. What if I told you that goal was a feeling and not a number? Right, so I was on the cruise 2 years ago with Kirk, and I was like, oh my God, I had the best day of my life, and we were in Mexico, and 8 months before I was in Mexico having surgery. I was 8 months prior to that, I was in Mexico having surgery, and if you would have told me on the day I had surgery that 8 months later I'd be back in love with someone else, surprise, smaller than I'd ever been as an adult, happy, in buying a house, getting engaged, getting married, loving everything about myself, I would have said, you're crazy. Nothing else about my life is going to change. I'm just going to lose weight. That's all. And Kirk said to me, what if I told you that goal was a feeling instead of a number? And that just blew my mind, because he's right. Goal isn't about what you aren't looking for. You didn't have surgery because of a number. The number is not the measure of your success, right? Go ahead. So it's like, I have bad news. It's activity time. Okay, so Christine helped me hand out some handouts, and hopefully you all have a pen, and if you don't, I have some extras, because some of you were going to share, but it turned out I had more than I thought I had. If you don't have a pen, I'll throw one at you. But I'm a bad throw, so I could just, if someone wants any. This is what I want you to do. Because what I'm going to do with you is work through the process that changed my life, that really led to me changing my life. So I'm going to have you, for about the next minute, write a list of things that you want that you don't have now. And it can't be something you could just do tomorrow if you decided to. Like, it can't be like, oh, I really want that pair of shoes I never bought. That's not a goal. That's a decision, right? So something that you want to do. It can be as big, going back to college. I know I had someone that gave this talk once before, and they said they wanted to go back to college, and they did. That's pretty powerful. Or if it's a hike that maybe you always said you wanted to do but never made the purpose of doing it. So just for the next minute or so, right? Anything you want that you don't have now that is more than just going to the store or giving someone a call, right? Sides. I want you to start thinking about, if it was the end of this year, because we're just going to work through this year even though it's May now. If it was the end of this year, name 1 or 2 things that could happen that would make you look back and say that was the best year of my life, right? If they're not already on the list, think about it that way. Like, oh, we did that and that, like it was the best year of my life. Okay. I don't remember what the handouts look like. Let me see. Okay. Awesome, thank you. That's perfect, that's fine. Okay. Now you can flip this up, like you're saying. This one is hard for me because at the bottom it says project to the end of your life, because not everything is about what you can accomplish in the next 3 months, right? Is there 1 or 2 things that you would like to have done between now and then that made you feel like you did what you wanted to do. So maybe it's not something that you can do this year, but maybe it's it's simple for some people. So for me, one of the things is I've always wanted to take my family to Disney World. So that's something Chris and I are working on. I want to go when all 4 kids are still in the house. One of ours is that we want a certain measure of success in our business, right? For me, if I look back and I say, man, I really accomplished something and it's meaningful and I left it, 5 years from now, 5 years after I die, someone could look on the internet and they would be like, oh, that exists and that person did it. Something meaningful to you. Okay. It gets real quiet when I do this and then I get nervous. Okay.
You're absorbing the information.
Is that what it's called? I know. Next slide, please. So I just want to talk about writing a goal, and this is just simple goal theory, but it's really important if you're going to make a goal that's actionable, because people say things all the time like, I want to do this, but it's almost meaningless at some point, right? To say, I want to, think about what Tony did here. I want to start a nonprofit that helps people get weight loss surgery. Unless you put specific things into that process, it's meaningless. So a goal that I'm looking for from you guys today is called a SMART goal, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, but it has to be specific, has to be measurable, has to be achievable or attainable, it has to be relevant, and it has to be time bound. And now I have some simple ways to explain that. So the specific is the difference between I want to spend more time with my kids and I will read to my kids before bed. What does more time look like, right? More time is nothing. And we're gonna make the things that you wrote down, we're gonna pick one of them, each of you, and we're gonna make it a SMART goal. But just to give you a frame of reference. The next one is measurable. Go ahead. Measurable is the difference between I will read to my kids before bed and I will read to my kids before bed every night. Right? How do you know if you've read to your kids before bed? Right? What does that mean? What does that actually look like? Go ahead. Attainable, at least for me, is more like I will read to my kids before bed every night, and I will read to my kids before bed 3 times a week. Right? Not 3 times a night, though, God, one of my kids would love that. Because to me, I can't do it 7 nights a week because I also have other priorities. So this is kind of where balance comes in. The next one is R. It has to be relevant. So I will try 20 types of jelly this year. And don't get me wrong, I wrote this because I actually really love jelly. Every time I go to a farmer's market, I'm like, jelly? It's just jelly. But, and then I will read to my kids before bed 3 times a week, because it doesn't matter what you're talking about if you don't actually care about it. Like it might, and this is something that was an obesity behavior for me, is that I wanted to do things that sounded cool, but just because they sound cool doesn't mean it's meaningful to me. Mm-hmm. Right? Like for example, I would love to go to China. I don't know if I care enough about going to China to take all of the steps to get there. I still talk about China, but I'm probably never going to go. It has to be actually relevant to your life and meaningful, right? So you could say I want to try 20 types of jelly this year, but if you don't actually care about jelly, you're never going to do it. So let's just not waste our time. And it's going to take energy away from something you do want to do. And the last one is time specific. So the difference between I will read to my bed please don't. I'll read to my kids 3 times a week before bed, and I will read to my kids 3 times a week before bed for the next 3 months. Give yourself a way to measure your success, because you're not going to do that forever. I promise you, because we have a 16-year-old daughter, she does not want me to read to her before bed 3 times a week. I try. The other day I was like, 90s hip hop is awesome, and she was like, I don't like it. And I was like, and now you're going to listen to 1 hour on YouTube of 90s hip hop. Let's start with Regulate by Warren G. She was like, still sucks. I was like, go to bed. Right, so just to give you a frame of reference of what we're actually looking for. So probably, I mean, when we do these lists, when Chris and I do these lists, we do what I call blue sky. So for the first 2 days, we just like dream as though there are no limits. But then eventually it has to become a goal, right? So becoming president is blue sky, that's good, but I'm not getting there tomorrow. I have too many skeletons. Okay. Hold on. Oh, this is just a cartoon while I get myself in order. See how well that's timed? This is one of I love Dilbert because I work in an office. And he says, when I asked for your goals for the coming year, I had something different in mind. The guy's like, not work as little as possible while avoiding the wrath of the pointy-haired troll. Don't call them my goals if they're yours. Right? Okay. So, I want to hear... Okay, this is what I need you to do. Oh, wait, go back. Back button. Too late. No, it's the back arrow. It's secret. It's not actually secret. There we go. Okay, so just take one of the things that is meaningful to you that you wrote down, and actually let's write a goal out of it. So just take a minute. There's another page maybe that might be easier. I don't really care where you write it, to be honest. It's not that formal, but just take one of the things that you said you wanted to do. I would love if you could aim for something that might be attainable this year, or in the next year, so that next year when we're all together again, we can have a conversation about how far you got. In Portland, how far you got. Because this is something I learned too. When Chris and I go and do these weekends, we write pages worth of goals, and we don't accomplish most of them. No, we accomplish most of them, but we certainly don't accomplish all of them. But I guarantee we accomplished 1,000 times more than if we never sat down and did it to begin with. Right, so pick something that maybe next year, if you have something there, we can talk about, and just write a SMART goal out of it. I want to do this, in which way, by this time. Hello, Facebook. Dom? Nothing. I appreciate you guys are sticking with me. If not, I'm judging you. Just kidding. I know that sometimes you just need to absorb. Okay, go ahead, Kristen. One term I really like to throw into the goal conversation is a phrase or a word, I guess it's a word, self-efficacy. So if you don't know what that is, self-confidence means that you believe in yourself, right? You believe in yourself. But self-efficacy is, I'm going to read the actual definition, is the extent or strength of one's belief in one's own ability to complete tasks and reach goals. And that is different than believing in yourself. You can believe, I believe in myself, I can do things, I'm a good person. But one of the things about goal setting is that if you have a big goal, like one of my goals was, I want to double my income. I just decided one day I was going to do that. I didn't know that wasn't a thing people just decided to do. I was like, I don't make enough money. I want to make twice that. And so